在我们有一位演讲者，他是钟金泉先生，他是社会工作者，也是前内安部的居留者。让我们以掌声欢迎钟金泉先生。Vincent Cheng is an ex-ISA detainee.
Good evening, everyone. I wish to thank the SDP for giving me this opportunity to speak to you, because last year the National Library Board banned me from speaking at the Central Library. I was actually invited by the NUS History Society to speak at their forum called Singapore History, Who Writes the Script? I began to wonder, why are the authorities so afraid of an ordinary person like me? Why do they want to seal my lips? I must tell you that before my arrest, I was a social worker working with poor people and foreign workers. The government didn't like the kind of social work I do. I was trained in community organization. In community organization, the social worker does not solve the problems of the people. The social worker instead organizes these people to solve their own problems. In this way, you empower people who have problems. You give them dignity. You give them back their human dignity. You respect them even though they belong to the lower income group.
Yes!
Also in community organization, you want to teach the people the roots of the problem. And you want them why they are having these problems. The government, of course, didn't like it. So in 1987, about 24 years ago, I was arrested under the Internal Security Act, together with 21 others, including Ms. Teo So Lang. We were detained in a political prison, which many people don't know, I think. But maybe you now know, because Mas Selamat escaped from there. The government accused me of being the central figure in a Marxist conspiracy. which they said was masterminded by Tan Hwa Piao in England. But there was no Marxist conspiracy. I was never the leader of the alleged Marxist group. I never had any political connections with Tan Hwa Piao, nor did I ever receive any instruction from him to conduct a subversive movement in Singapore to overthrow the state. But the government claimed that I had made a confession. Yes, but this confession was drawn out of me from duress and torture. I was put in an extremely cold room. I was deprived of sleep for days. I was verbally abused. I was slapped many times across my face. I was beaten on my chest and my back, and I was punched in the abdomen. Before the assault, I stood my ground and I refused to be intimidated. But after the assault, I succumbed and I allowed myself to be a docile puppet, writing long pages of self-incriminating lies and half-truths. The government told the people that there was never any torture of prisoners. But I was a victim of one. I was never charged, never put on trial, never convicted. Yet, under the ISA, the government had the right to detain me as long as they want. Detention without trial is a grave injustice. It is an abuse of the due process of law.
Yes.
And it can happen to you, you know. It has happened to me and to hundreds of other ISD detainees in the past. Dr. Chia Tai Po, Dr. Lim Hock Siew, Dr. Po Su Kai, Mr. Said Zahawi have all suffered much more than me, all without the chance of seeking legal redress. What about those who have gone to their grave in a blanket of silence? We, therefore, who are still alive, we owe them the duty to seek out the truth.
Yeah.
And we must accordingly proclaim their contribution to the true history of Singapore. We must fight for the abolition of the ISA. The SDP has strongly advocated for the abolition of the ISA. And if you are worried about terrorism, let me tell you that there are enough laws to combat terrorism. We don't need the ISA because the ISA is a PAP tool to demolish opposition in Singapore. We cannot allow the PAP government to get away with it and continue to use the ISA to detain its political opponents. We say enough is enough. So when you cast your vote on the 7th of May, let that vote tell the PAP, stop the persecution of your abolish the ISA.